Hey everyone, welcome to the worst hour. I'm Liss,
And I'm Cassie.
and you're in luck because we're doing a Sunday sesh, a little bonus ep for y'all. We talked about reviewing some movies, and I don't think there's a better movie to review right now than Saltburn. Oh, so much to talk about.
If you haven't seen it yet, don't listen to this and go watch it because we're going to talk about everything that happens. So it'll be a huge spoiler.
Very big spoiler. Yeah, warning. We're giving it to you now, but I'm telling you, I don't even know if you want to waste 2 hours of your life. So maybe you just want to get the synopsis here. We're in for it.
Yeah.
So where do we even start?
We'll start at the beginning where Oliver goes to Oxford. He gets there. Seems like it's his first day.
Yeah, it's just the start of the movie itself is just odd. You know, Cassie brought up something earlier, like he's walking in the quad and somebody's laughing at him like nice jacket, like he's poor. Who does that?
No, I've never seen anyone say anything like that in real life.
Never.
Never.
Maybe in movies.
Yeah.
In the early 2000s.
Maybe in the UK. That's a thing.
Yeah, y'all are mean over there. But very, very odd. And then he just like magically becomes friends, so we think, with Felix, who is, you know, like a 6'5", very good looking, very popular man, I guess.
Everyone wants to be his friend.
Does everyone want to be his friend because he lives at Saltburn?
Maybe.
And
or
they want to
just
go
'cause
there?
He's really rich.
Oh, because he's really rich, yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like everyone at Oxford was really rich.
Yeah, that's true.
See, this is just like, why does everyone want to be his friend? Question number one. Can't answer it. He seems like a nice guy, at least a little bit. He's very judgmental.
Yeah, it seems like he has a good heart. He, takes Oliver out to the bars with him and his friends. And Oliver doesn't have money and can't pay, and he like immediately notices and jumps up and pays for him.
Right, but then Oliver finds his girlfriend one day sitting in his like apartment building and ends up making out with her.
Yeah,
Which
is super weird. First red flag.
so many red flags in the beginning. And you don't really see them coming because he's just an awkward dude.
Yeah. And as you're watching it, you're just kind of like, what is going on? Yeah. Why is this happening? Which I don't know if that is the point of the movie, is to like, what is going on? Like
right.
What's happening in each scene, it just confuses you further.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the scenes almost have no purpose in the movie until the very, very, very end.
Right.
You know, they don't connect together.
No. They're just like really random.
Yeah. The whole movie was very random. So then they go to this graduation party, which I've never heard of a school you graduate after freshman year. First of all.
Right. Was it a graduation party?
I don't know.
It seemed like that.
They were in caps and gowns.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So like maybe you graduate from your freshman year like, woo, yay, okay, now 3 more years. And they're talking on the bridge about Oliver's family.
Yes.
And he lays out this whole sob story for you. My dad is a drug addict. My mom's an alcoholic. My dad's dead. And like this just happened. And then Felix is all like, well, you know, in our family, like we throw a rock when somebody dies into the pond.
Right.
And that's supposed to like help you relieve yourself of your grief. And so they do that. And then Felix invites him to Saltburn.
Yeah.
And basically like the next scene is him showing up to Saltburn.
Arriving. And he's greeted by the butler, Duncan, at the door.
Yes.
And Duncan's like, we sent a car for you because Oliver had taken the train. And Oliver's like, I'm sorry. And then he's like, come in.
Do you think now that maybe that's just like a whole setup too? Like he purposely took a different train?
Maybe. maybe.
You see, I don't trust anything anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Like maybe like Felix had told him we're gonna send a car for you.
Mm-hmm.
But he took the train instead.
Yeah.
I don't know what would have been.
Maybe so that.
Like people feel bad for him.
Yeah, or like he's just like trying that. I feel like this is gonna like really get deep dive into the analysis of this film, but I feel like it further separates them. Like initially, right? Like there's this cultural divide between rich and poor.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't like he's trying to set it up like he doesn't understand what it's like to have like family, money, people who care about you.
Playing the whole like poor thing.
The victim card. Yeah.
The butler wasn't having any of it though.
No, he was very aggressive.
He wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like you took the train, but we sent a car for you. He was bothered.
Yes.
He was like, we sent a car for you.
He knew what was going on from the beginning.
Oh, for sure.
That guy had been around long enough to see some shit go down. So then he shows him to his bedroom, and then they're in the library talking about him, and he walks in while they're watching Superbad, which I think this movie is supposed to be set in the early 2000s as well. And I read something online that they're watching a director's cut before Superbad even was released.
Okay.
Interesting. Not 100% sure if that was the purpose of it. I don't even know why it was thrown in there, and they're talking about him and how sad his life is.
Yeah, Felix's mom, Elsbeth, is like she's not talking shit. She's just like,
oh, she's totally talking shit.
She's like loving his horrible life.
Yes.
Like cannot wait to tell everyone's business.
Yeah, just like Pam.
Yeah.
Is that her name? Pamela?
I think so. Pamela, Pam. Yeah, I don't know.
They're just like totally ripping her apart, and then she's
she like leaves the room, and Elsbeth is like immediately telling all of her dirty laundry.
Terrible, and then she always plays it off like, oh, but poor thing.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, at the end it's like, oh, but it's so horrible.
Yeah,
like
it's
yeah,
pity.
Yeah,
straight pity. And then they're dressing for dinner, which is just an old school, very old school thing to do, which I think we should bring that back. That'd be great. But what bothered me was Felix said, I left an old dinner coat for you. Right?
Right.
He's not wearing a dinner coat. He's in a full tux.
Full tux. Yeah.
I don't know why that bothered me so much. I'm like, what?
Yeah. And then Oliver was like, he plays like he's sitting there and he's like looking very like not bothered, but when Felix is telling him that he like brought whatever, and then he asks him if he has
cufflinks,
and Oliver's like no, and then he's like sitting there and you can tell that he's like maybe embarrassed.
He's playing that role very well.
So well that like, oh, well, I could have brought my own. Like he's a poor thing.
Yeah.
Like he's like, these people are so much better than him that they assume he has nothing.
Right. Which, again, I think that's just like further adding to the rich-poor divide that they're trying to build up, because they're trying to give a reason, jump ahead to the end, they're trying to give a reason why Oliver did all of these things.
Right. Yeah.
Because he was, like, he wants that, what they have.
Right.
Which, I don't know if you want what they have, but, and then we fast forward to the next morning, right? They're eating breakfast. And what's the butler's name? Duncan?
Duncan.
He asks Duncan for a plate of an English breakfast, and they're all looking at him like he's the dumbest thing in the world. They're like, oh, it's like you could just help yourself.
Yeah.
And then Duncan asks him what kind of eggs he wants, and the guy says fried over easy. When have you ever had an over easy egg that is not runny?
Right. Never.
Okay, the plate comes out with runny eggs, and he's like, oh, runny eggs make me sick. And Duncan looks at him like,
yeah,
what?
Like, what are you talking about? Everyone was looking at him like that.
Yeah. Granted, those eggs were sunny side up. They were not over easy.
Oh, okay.
Did you see them on the plate?
Yeah.
But still,
yeah,
it's the same egg.
Right. There's like, and I don't know what the point of that was.
No, me either. I was so confused. Like, that's what we said earlier. Some of these scenes just, like, don't make sense.
Right. Like, what was the purpose? Like, some of the scenes are like, okay, that makes sense. Like, why they put that in there. This one, I have no idea. Maybe
Yeah.
there's a really deep meaning to it.
Yeah.
Like, he's never had an egg before because he's so poor. Like, I don't know.
Well, that's what you might assume, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, that maybe he grew up eating, like, really shit food because his dad was a drug addict and his mom's an alcoholic. And, like, he only knows overcooked eggs. Or he only knows runny eggs because that's all he ate.
Right.
And, like, he's really trying to play this role. There's so many things in between, though, that we have to talk about. Like, the no pants in the field.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When they're all naked. Like, Felix and his sister are both naked.
And Farley.
But, like, just the two, like, the brother and sister being naked in a field together, that's weird.
That's very weird.
I would never, no. That's, like, so bizarre. Like, even if you're not doing anything, you're just, like, laying there, I don't care. I'm not gonna, no.
We're not
weird.
entering that realm
No.
together. Absolutely never.
And he just, like, drops them. Oliver does. Just, like, so quick, drops them, and it's like, they're all like, good for him.
Yeah. Like, they're just staring at
Yeah.
him. And he, without even a question, drops his pants. For somebody
Yeah.
who acts so insecure and so shy, that was like a turning point, I feel like.
Yeah.
When you knew shit was
Definitely.
going to get weird
Yeah, he was getting really confident.
with his dingling out.
Yeah.
And then the next scene, essentially, is Felix masturbating in the bathtub.
Yeah.
Which, on its own, as a scene, probably wouldn't have been disturbing. But then you have Oliver lurking in the bathroom.
Peeping Tom.
Seriously peeping. And then they, like, flash forward, brushing their teeth. Felix is like, night, bro. And
Oliver says nothing back to that either. He's, like, silent.
he walks straight over to the bathtub and gets in it. In the draining dirty bath water.
Face down.
Face
Like,
down.
rubs his cheek in it.
And then slurps.
Slurps that water up.
Oh. And then it gets so much worse when he's like, his tongue is like
Licking.
all up in the drain. How dirty is
yeah,
that drain?
literally.
Alone, without the dirty bath water that has, you know, freaking Felix's DNA all in it.
Yeah.
And he's just
And
like,
Yeah.
what?
No. That scene honestly made me almost gag.
Very much
I was
so.
feeling nauseous.
Very much
watching it.
so. Like, so disgusting.
So disgusting.
And it seems like he's obsessed with Felix.
Right.
Right? It seems like that. All of this whole movie, it seems one thing.
Yeah. Like, he's, like, so in love with him and, like, so desperate to, like, get close to him and not lose him.
Mm-hmm.
But the slurping, that was a bit much, I think, for me.
A bit? It was way too much.
And I don't know who, like, created this idea for this movie or who wrote it, or I don't know, like, even how that works, if it's, like, the director or whatever. But to come up with that scene,
I know, you gotta have something in your brain.
something is, like, really twisted.
Yeah. Very
like,
odd.
Really odd.
And then the next scene is is Oliver basically hitting on Elsbeth.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he gets there first. He gets to whatever they were doing.
Or like
having
cocktail
drinks
hour? I'm
or
not sure.
something. Yeah. And then what does he say to her? He says...
They're talking about Pamela.
Yeah.
Because Pamela has left now.
Right.
And he says something about, oh, that's just because you're so beautiful.
Yeah.
And she's all flattered.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're talking more about Pamela, and he's saying how much he thought her stories were, like, embellished and not true. And she's just
Yeah.
lapping that up.
Yeah. And he is literally describing himself, like
Yep.
what he's doing. Like, oh, there were a lot of inconsistencies in her story, and she like, what did like so emotional or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. And Elsbeth is totally just like, you're so perceptive.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Trying
I
to
didn't
like
want to
bond with him over
over her friend,
deception.
supposed friend. Yeah.
Yeah, very terrible. And then I don't know. I think the bathtub scene is one thing, but what follows that evening, the vampire scene.
Yes. Yeah. When Venetia, is that her name? Venetia? Is outside his window and he comes down, and then he's like, "Oh, yeah, you're just in front of my risen her up. You're just in front of my window, just in your nightgown or something like
See-through
that.
nightgown.
See-through nightgown, yeah. And then he starts talking about how she's going to eat tomorrow
And sit at the table.
Stay at the sit at the table, because Elsbeth had just told him that she was bulimic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he was like, what did he say? Like, you're so beautiful. You need to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And she's like, okay.
Oh, and he definitely took care of her.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, first thing that really bothered me is that he stuck his hand right into her dress and then pulled out okay, she's on her period. We get that. It's very implied.
Yeah.
But this guy's hand is like covered in blood.
Which
That's
happen.
not men. That's literally not what happens when somebody's on their period.
No.
Like, your hand is not like dripping blood, and then he
No.
puts it all over her.
Yeah.
In her mouth, all over her chest. I was like, why are we doing that?
Yeah. No.
You want to
Just
touch it? Great.
no.
I don't want it on me.
No, I don't want it on me. Don't put it anywhere near my mouth. Absolutely not.
And then he just goes straight down there.
Yep.
And then flash forward, he's in the bathtub. His fucking face is covered in blood.
Covered. And it's just, no. And before that, she gives him a warning, and she goes, it's not the right time of month. And he goes, good thing I'm not a vampire.
No, he says, good thing
Good
I am a
Not
vampire.
a vampire. Yeah, I am a vampire. I would have been like, absolutely, well, good for you, but I'm going to go inside now.
Yeah, yeah.
See ya.
Enjoy the thought of it, but it's not happening.
Not happening.
Terrible, terrible, terrible things. That was just, that I think that for me was worse than the bathtub scene.
Okay. I think for me the bathtub scene was worse. But just a hair worse.
I think it was
They
just
were
all
both.
the blood. Like,
Yeah.
there was just so much blood.
So much blood.
And it was all over the place. And her nightgown was white.
Yeah. And my thought was like, what if you ran into someone coming back inside and you have blood all over you?
Like, smeared.
And you just like run into someone. Like, your dad's going to get a glass of water and he's like, whoa, what happened?
Or Oliver runs into him. His face looks like he just like freaking ate a raw steak.
Yeah, just killed a deer out in the field.
It had his head all up in
devoured
it. Jesus. And then he lies to Felix when Felix is upset that he got with his sister.
Yep.
And just straight up lies and blames it all on Farley.
Yeah, that Farley's making things up. It's crazy how, like, manipulative. It's crazy how good the actor plays that role.
Yeah.
And is just, like, totally believable.
Yeah, very, very much so. It's also crazy how at the beginning of the movie, I don't know if you felt this way, but I did not like Farley. I thought he was, like, pompous.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Then I started to feel bad for him.
Totally.
But because you could tell he knew something was up with Oliver.
Yeah.
And Oliver just, spun his web.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye, Farley.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, Farley. Yeah, and then what's next? They have dinner with the Henrys. It's like a big party.
Yes. Yeah. Like a big party that was like the dinner scene. Oliver's like talking with Venetia and she's like all upset
because he left her outside her window, his window that next night. that previous night.
Right.
And she's all like, well, you don't want to get with me or something like that. And he's like, we just need to be more careful. And she's like, no.
Yeah. And then she turns and starts talking to the other person, and then he starts talking to the lady sitting to his right who's like saying that she basically hates her husband.
Yeah, which that scene doesn't make any sense either.
No.
Like, and then the husband is now singing karaoke.
Yeah.
To
really
Low.
Yeah. Honestly, it was like pretty good. If
Yeah.
I was there, I would be like, yeah.
Especially if you're drinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, and then Farley puts on that song for
Oliver to sing.
But that's after.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we missed that whole middle scene. So Oliver and Farley are sitting next to each other on the couch, like talking really close. And Farley asks him, like, the English version of Fuck, Marry, Kill.
Right.
And it was like with Henry the 8th or something like
Henry,
that.
like the 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Yeah.
They're all sitting, like their pictures are all sitting up on the wall.
Yeah. And Farley says that he would choose whichever one because they would be like really insecure and would try a lot harder. And then Oliver goes, well, why don't you just fuck me? Isn't that what he says?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And
it looks like they're gonna kiss.
And Farley looks like he's all up into it.
Yeah, like he's like, oh damn.
Yeah,
like,
and
okay.
Oliver's like, well, you can talk to me. I know you hate me, but and then Farley's like, I don't hate you.
Yeah.
The dynamics shifted extremely hard, and then the dynamic shifts again when Farley picks that really degrading song about, I don't even know what's it about, like
I love you,
pay my rent.
You pay my rent.
Yeah.
It's basically like just using.
Yes.
It's a song just using people.
And when Oliver like realizes what Farley did, he like drops the mic and was like, this is your song too, why don't you come finish it?
Yeah.
And Farley jumps right on in.
Yeah, and starts like singing super like into it.
Fucking cut scene.
Yeah.
Farley's in bed.
Yeah.
And Oliver's like right on top of him. Like rubbing him off, telling him, are you going to behave?
Yeah. And the first time he's like, no. And then the second time he's like, no. Oh, but before he gets in bed with Farley, he's standing, like, I think it's in his room, and he, like, is wrapping a towel around his hand and then punches the mirror.
Yeah, what was that about?
I have no idea. Like, he was so angry or something, and then he's in Farley's bed, and then the next morning, he, like, looks at the mirror, and the mirror's magically fixed.
Yeah.
Like, I did not understand that part at all.
I know.
Like, did the maids come in and fix it? Or, I mean, he shattered the mirror.
Yeah, it was fucked.
Unless that was, didn't really happen. And that was just, like, an internal representation of what Oliver was feeling.
Interesting. Yeah, there's just a lot of undertones that I don't know that I could even pick out.
Yeah.
The Farley thing itself was just
bizarre.
Weird. Didn't make any sense.
No. He seemed like he was, like, super down to kiss Oliver.
Yeah.
And, like, was like, oh, he's so sweet. It was the vibe that it was giving off.
Yeah. It just, in an instant, the roles were changing. How Oliver has all this control over these people, I don't know. Like, they must feel so bad for him.
Yeah.
And he's just, wrapping them tighter and tighter around his finger.
Exactly. Just like they are so much better than him that he could, like, do no wrong. Because he has nothing and he's so, like, sad and...
Yeah, he's like a sad little puppy.
Yeah.
And then Farley gets kicked out of Saltburn.
Right.
Because, so initially you said it was because he was stealing.
That he was going to.
But I thought Venetia said he tried to nick somebody, which maybe means, no, I thought maybe because in the beginning of the movie, wasn't there some scandal that Farley used to suck off his teachers, his professors?
Oh.
So
yeah.
when you cut to the end of the movie and it's showing all of those scenes of what Oliver did, and you said he's in his bedroom after,
like on his phone,
on Farley's phone, texting the professor, maybe something a little scandalous, a little dirty.
Oh, okay.
And then, but that professor was friends with with the Saltburn folks.
Yeah.
And maybe they said something to him, and then they were
Right.
just like, okay, he needs to go.
Yeah.
Right? That was very confusing. You'd have to watch the movie several times in order to understand what was going on. It really anywhere in the film, but like specifically that chain of events was very
Right.
confusing.
Well, because then they're sitting by like the pond or whatever, Felix, Venetia, and Oliver. And I think like Venetia was like, said something like, he knows, or doesn't he know that Jim, or like the dad, James knows so and so. So
Yes.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yes. Okay. So we figured out one of the several mysteries within this movie. And then they go to Oliver's house.
Yeah, it's Oliver's birthday. And Felix is like, get dressed, I'm taking you out, or something like that. And Oliver's like, where? And Felix is like, it's a surprise. And Felix looks so excited. He's like sitting on his little like credenza or whatever you call it, and he's like blushing. He's like, oh, where are we going?
Surprise, your parents' house. They're both alive.
Yeah, yeah, and normal, not
very normal.
Not,
they live in a nice
alcoholics.
house.
Yeah.
They live in a nice neighborhood. They're very normal. Surprise, he's got two sisters that he
didn't lie about. He said he was an only child.
And his mom's like, yeah, Felix always wanted to be an only child. He was always running off, doing things on his own. He's probably killing animals in preparation for this.
Yeah, probably.
And
he's just like so not nice to his parents.
Oh my gosh. And the way he's sitting there, utmost embarrassment, utmost uncomfortability, because he knows they caught him. Like, he's been caught red-handed. Literally red-handed.
Yeah. And Felix is like is still being nice. Like his mom or his dad says, well, we made lunch for you, because Oliver's trying to leave because he has a migraine. He's like, we got to get back. Or he said he has a migraine. And then Felix is like, what does he say?
No, we can stay.
Yeah.
Take a pill, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, that's right.
And then they get in the car, and of course Felix is fucking pissed.
Yeah.
He's speeding down the highway. I thought, so we tried to watch this movie previously. We both fell asleep. Yeah. I woke up at several different times. One of the times I woke up is when Felix is dead. So I knew he died. I just didn't know how. So that scene is happening, and I'm thinking Oliver just turns that wheel, and they go off, and Felix dies.
Right.
That's not how it happens. But he's just like speeding. He's like, we're going to have your birthday party, and then you need to leave tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that did not sit well with Mr. Ollie.
No, not at all. Which, if that were me, and I lied to someone for some reason about my whole life story, and then they found out, I would not go back with them. No. I would be horribly embarrassed, as should anyone. And you would be like, so I can't, like, I'm just going to stay here.
Yeah, just leave me here.
Yeah, I don't need my stuff.
Yeah,
like,
or ship it back to me, like, literally.
Like, and Felix probably would have been happy with that. He probably would have been like, okay. But he was like needing to win Felix back.
Yeah. And his whole birthday party, he's like, where's Felix? Where's Felix? Dressed as the fucking deer. Okay, we looked it up. The theme, somehow we missed this in the movie. The theme was Midsummer's Night or Night's Dream.
Yeah.
And so, okay, that makes a little bit of sense. Also, thematically, I guess, like, he's really playing into that deer in headlights kind of role.
Totally.
But and Felix is an angel.
Yeah.
Right, and he's dressed as the angel. But he's just not getting the hint. And then he follows Felix and that girl out to the maze.
To the maze, yeah.
Right? And he like watches them have sex, lurking in the shadows.
Yeah, and then just says, Felix, I need to talk to you.
And the girl's like, y'all are crazy.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Run straight out of there, honey, because you do not want to know what happens next. Which nobody knows what happens next until the very end.
Right.
Right? But that was the last place Felix was seen.
Mm-hmm.
And he was found there the next morning, dead.
Dead. Yeah.
And the chain of events that happened after that,
Yeah. Then, well, first of all, just the way that everyone is frantically searching the next morning after his birthday party. Everyone is frantic, like searching in the pond for him, and like everyone's running around. The butlers are running around, and Duncan is like in the great room when Oliver comes down, and Oliver is just like taking his time, and he's not saying anything. He's not like, what happened? What's going on? Nothing. He's just like quiet, and then Duncan like stops after he's like telling someone to like run or something like that a certain way. And then Duncan just like stops and just like looks at Oliver. Did you notice that?
Yeah, and
like,
it
doesn't say a word. He's just like, he's like, I thought he was gonna be like, Felix is missing. Have you seen him? Like, when did you last seen him? Nothing. He just like looks at Oliver and it's just like dead quiet. And then Oliver doesn't even like, no sense of urgency.
None at all. Like he knows exactly what's going on.
Which nobody questions either.
No.
Nobody brings it up like, why wasn't he asking what was going on?
Yeah. And then the mom finds him
Mm-hmm.
and screams.
Yeah.
And everyone runs over there. And Oliver just, saunters over there. He just kind of steps into the middle of the maze.
Yeah. He's just like standing in the background while Farley and Venetia are like sitting there
sobbing.
crying.
And the dad's trying to freaking move him.
And he's like talking to him like he's going to be okay. And yeah, Oliver's just like,
did you notice that Elsbeth also was just sort of standing there?
Yeah, that's true. Like with her back to him. Yeah.
Like obviously trauma, your son dead, but like a little sketchy.
Yeah. And then she's like, let's have lunch.
Yeah, and everything's fine. And they're sitting at the table and the curtains close while Venetia is like dumping a bottle of wine into a glass, spilling everywhere. It's very dramatic.
Yeah.
The curtains close. And Duncan's like struggling with the curtain and the dad is like screaming at him. And then again, you see Venetia, she's just like basically pouring wine. It is so dramatic.
Yeah.
Like the attachment that she has to her brother. Like obviously if your brother died, you'd be very upset. But like it's almost this like incestual connection that they have. And she's just like being super dramatic. And all Elsbeth and Lord James, King James, Lord James, Sir James, all they want to do is have a normal meal. Yeah. And Farley's just not about it. You can hear them rolling the gurney with his dead body across, and he's like about to vomit. He gets up, and Sir James is like, sit back down.
Yeah. Finish your pie.
And freaking Oliver's just like playing into like this scene that nothing happened.
Right. He's like giving them what they want.
Yeah.
Especially Elsbeth.
Yes.
He's like, because she's just trying to ask him how his party went. And he just like keeps going back to that, which seems like a good thing to do for someone that, like, if that's what someone is wanting to do when they've lost someone, is like distract themselves for the time being. That would be a good thing. Mm-hmm. But like the way that he's doing it, just being like, oh, I love my cake. Or
yeah,
like,
and
the cake.
And he gets louder. Normally I don't like chocolate cake. And it's just, you can tell he's like almost trying to cut tension by being, like you said, exactly what they think they need at that time.
Yeah.
Just trying to get into their good graces. Like just trying to, I don't know, appease. And then he finds Venetia in the bathtub.
Yeah.
And she knows.
Oh, yeah.
She knows something's like issue.
Yeah. Big issue. And he like apologizes for walking in on her. And then she's like, you and your apologies. And then she lays into him.
Yeah. And then he kisses her.
Yeah, which was super weird. After she was like, basically like, you are nothing. And then he kisses like this weird.
And she plays into it.
Yeah.
And then pushes him away. And then the next fucking scene is her dead in the bathtub with blood everywhere and a razor sitting on this, like she killed herself.
Yeah.
And he's talking, like future him is talking, like she just couldn't live without him.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Because that's what everyone was like, oh, Felix died. She couldn't live without him. She killed herself.
And then
no one's questioning it.
And then Father Sir James asks him to leave, and he does. And he leaves.
He leaves.
And then time passes.
Right.
And there's no, like, 3 years later that pops up on the screen.
No.
It seems like he's maybe done with school.
Yeah.
He's sitting in the coffee shop, typing away on his computer.
Yeah.
Who walks in?
Elsbeth.
Elsbeth just waltzes on in there and notices him. And then they have this whole conversation, and she's saying, like, it pans to a picture of Sir James's obituary.
Yeah.
And she talks about how he killed himself, but she doesn't actually talk about it.
No, she says, what did she say? I'm surprised at how long he waited.
He waited, yeah. And then she goes to, like, walk away, and she's like, she comes back, she's like, oh, come stay with me at Saltburn.
Yeah.
Is this bitch crazy?
Right?
Obviously. Because guess what? She's now in a hospital bed.
Yeah.
And then there was that scene of him pushing her around in the wheelchair.
Yeah, which was really weird. And she was like flopping back and forth. Like her head was like he was being so rough.
But we don't get any explanation about how she got there.
No.
He says it's a shame that you got so ill. That cannot have been a coincidence.
No, absolutely not.
There's a scene where it pans to her signing a trust.
Yeah.
His name is probably all over it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Trusting Saltburn to him.
Yeah. And then you see all the things that he did, right? He pops the bike tire. He pretends like he doesn't have any money in the bar. Yeah. And that's when Felix pays. Mm-hmm. And like...
And he's got like tons of bills in his wallet.
And then you finally see him on Farley's phone.
Yeah.
And then basically he gets on top of her and yanks that breathing tube out. And she's like...
Hard. Yeah.
Hard yank. First of all, what is wrong with movie ventilators? They don't look anything like... That is not what a breathing tube looks. That was like one of those, play tubes that you used to play with as a kid where it like crinkles up and...
Yeah, it makes the noise. And then you like whip it around and it's like...
That's not a breathing tube. That's not what it would look like. He's like, whoopsh.
Yeah,
yanks
it's like
that shit out.
4 feet long.
And then wants her dead body to hug him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like maneuvering her dead, lifeless arms around him to get a hug.
And nobody else is there.
No one else is there. And then it goes to her funeral. And like there's people walking away and he's just like the last one standing there with her like box. Her coffin, which for people with so much money, and all of them are in
ugliest coffins you've ever seen.
Like the cheapest wood coffin.
Basically plywood.
Literally, yeah, plywood. Not realistic.
Not in like a family tomb or like anything like that. Just like dead in the ground with a cross.
Exactly.
A wooden cross, like 2 nails.
Yeah.
And then cut to freaking murder on the dance floor.
Yeah. Back to her death though, Elsbeth's. My question is, did no one ask who pulled this tube out?
Right?
Was there no investigation done? Because in a real life situation, when someone is, unless, to be fair, I don't know how it works over there, but like, I guess here, if you were like their medical power of attorney, then you would be able to make that decision.
You still need a doctor sign off.
That's what I was thinking.
So she's in home care.
Yeah.
She signed him over as
everything.
Like
Yeah.
can make all the decisions.
Yeah.
But where is the doctor?
Right.
The ventilator
That's
would be
not
like
the right.
freaking beeping like nobody's business.
Right.
There's no. You're telling me in that great big house, all the people who still work there were still there. They were at her funeral, so they must have still been in the house.
No one questioned it when the
did
coroner
he maybe
came?
like shove it back in, or like maybe he said she died and then he took it out because he didn't want her body to be uncomfortable.
Oh, that could be.
But it's like flopped on the floor.
Yeah, like literally just.
The room reeks of cigarettes.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like swinging on her swing. On her, like, what are they called?
It's like the movement aid that like buckles you in and it like moves you side to side so that you don't get bed sores.
And he's just like sitting there swinging on it after he kills her.
Smoking a cig.
Yeah.
And then he's so happy. He's all alone in that great big house. Mm-hmm. Dancing naked to murder on the dance floor with his uncircumcised penis out.
Yeah. Disgusting.
Like, so disgusting. But there's nobody there. Like, all of that to have nobody around you just for that great big property.
Right.
There's got to be more. Like, now he has it all, right? He's got all the money. Mm-hmm. He's got the house. He's got the lifestyle. But he's got nobody to share it with.
Exactly.
How sad.
How sad.
Doesn't talk to his parents. They're still alive.
Yeah. Doesn't talk to his sisters. Doesn't even acknowledge their existence.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan.
No.
Of the movie as a whole.
We missed one thing we didn't talk about. Felix's funeral.
Oh.
We did not talk about Felix's funeral.
Oh, yeah, you know.
That was a big one. I'm not sure how we missed it.
Where he fucks the ground.
Where he... So weird. Like... Venetia, Sir James, and Elsbeth are like standing on the bridge. And
they threw
like,
the rock
threw
in.
the rock in. You see it sink. And he's like standing, like watching them from afar, like in the trees, like hidden.
Extremely creepy.
Creep. Yeah. And then he goes back to the grave and he's like fully dressed, just crying, so sad. Okay, you know, not normal. Like laying in the freshly
rubbing the dirt as if
it is a person, like grabbing it. It was
and then he rips his tie off and you're like, okay,
rips the shirt,
maybe he can't breathe, and then just like all the clothes come off and he just straight up sticks his dick in the dirt,
straight up inserts it.
and
he's like humping the dirt and then like moaning, and then that turns to like sobbing again
while he's still humping the dirt.
Moving. Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie he's like, I loved him but I hated him.
Yeah, he like went back and forth. He's like, I thought I was in love with him, I loved him, I hated him. Like, it was like, sometimes I hated him, I hated him.
Very confusing.
What? But you looked up his bathtub water because you hated him? That's like not even like...
You humped the dirt because you hated him?
Literally. So bizarre. And people are like, this movie is crazy. It changed my life. And I'm like, that was the weirdest shit I've ever seen in my entire life.
Unarguably the weirdest movie I've ever seen.
Weirdest. It's just like I would say that the directing and like the storyline, like the
plot
or whatever is good without all the weird shit that happens.
Yeah, I think if you take out all of the very odd sexual innuendos that are in it, you would have probably a good mainstream story about a poor kid who lies about who he is to like kill everyone and take over the mansion.
Yeah.
That within itself, you're right, is an okay storyline.
Yeah.
Overused, but okay.
Right.
Which is why I think they added all of this
weird.
this obsessive behavior. But the acting, don't get me wrong, the acting was phenomenal. They did a great job.
Really good job.
I just can't get over how spotty it was, because it jumped from this point to this point, and all of the characters' issues were like intertwined within each other, and you weren't sure who we were focusing on, and then people were dying, and you're not getting any explanation.
Yeah.
Nobody's asking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like they knew.
Yeah.
Like Elsbeth, I feel like she probably was in on it. Duncan has me suspicious.
Yeah.
But you don't get any clarity.
None. Which, like, I guess is the point, maybe. Like, there's a lot of movies that, like, I was just talking with some people about a different movie, a Jordan Peele movie. Us, maybe? But, like,
yeah.
But at the end, they said, like, I have never seen it, but the people telling me about it were like, Jordan Peele will never come out and tell what he intended for the ending, or like his meaning behind the ending, because he wants people to wonder. So maybe that's like one of these movies, but it's just so. And I think that was like their goal, was to make it like not seamless.
Yeah. I don't know. You guys watch the movie yourself. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know if you know any deeper meanings to the movie. I really haven't looked anything up on it, like the hidden meanings or anything.
I didn't really either. I was just looking up the parts that the first time we watched it, that I was awake for, and I was just so curious. But we'll definitely need some recommendations for some movies to review. Maybe some books.
Yeah.
If I can get Cassie to read.
Yeah.
So, all right. Happy Sunday session. We'll see you on Wednesday.